What day will you be announcing your Fed chair pick next week?
Tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning. And do you know?
That was last night, and Trump wasted no time. Earlier this morning, Donald Trump officially selected Kevin Warsh to be the new Fed chairman. Donald Trump is already saying that Kevin is going to go down as one of the greats. But why? Who is Kevin Warsh? What does he stand for? What are his policy beliefs? Today, we're going to dig into who Kevin Warsh is, why him, Scott Bessent, and Stanley Druckenmiller have been laying out their economic plans and thoughts for the US for the past decade, and what his stances are on Bitcoin, and why you're not bullish enough. This is Dante Cook with Bitcoin Simply. Let's go.
Are there things the chairman can say to you today that would make you back off some of the earlier criticism?
Well, I'd love him to lower interest rates. Other than that, what can I tell you?
Well, on Wednesday, Jerome Powell didn't lower interest rates.
In support of our goals, today the Federal Open Market Committee decided to leave our policy rate unchanged.
And Donald Trump was like, say less. You're fired. The Fed is supposedly supposed to be independent from the president in federal policy, but let's face it, they're not. They have a central role in determining the strength and national security of the United States globally. And most importantly, their policies have the biggest impact on interest expense, which is currently $1.2 trillion. And so out with the old and in with the new. Kevin Warsh. But who is Kevin Warsh? All right, his background is silver spoonish. Did his undergrad at Stanford. Then he got his law degree at Harvard, where he graduated cum laude, while doing other coursework at MIT. After law school, he went to Morgan Stanley, where he was quickly promoted to be the director of mergers and acquisitions for the entire company. At just 30 years old, he was nominated to be a special assistant to the president, George Bush, on his National Economic Council. His responsibilities included domestic finance, banking and securities, regulatory policy, and consumer protection. He advised the president and senior administrators on the issues related to U.S. economic policy. And at the same time, he married Jane Lauder, who is the granddaughter of Estee Lauder and the daughter of Ronald Lauder. Estee Lauder is a $40 billion company, and Ron is the sole heir to their foundation and all of their assets, and he's worth about $5 billion. He also happens to be one of the biggest Republican donors and has elite connections everywhere across the world. All right, back to Kevin. At 35 years old, George Bush nominated him to be the youngest member to serve on the Federal Reserve Board. He served here from 2006 to 2011. He served during and through the Great Financial Crisis. And this is where we start to understand his beliefs and his policies. Let's take a listen.
Quantitative easing is fundamentally different than cutting interest rates, and that it appears to be working through fundamentally different transmission channels. No longer credit channels and lending channels appear to be the dominant way in which it impacts the economy. It appears much more to be working itself through asset prices. Whether you think about housing stocks or financial stocks, I think that is the dominant channel. And as a first approximation, if 3/4 of our fellow citizens get 96% of their income from labor income, it strikes me we ought not be dismissive in saying, oh, everybody wins. When I look at the wealth creation across the financial asset world post-crisis, I view that wealth creation as being significantly above what my former colleagues predicted. When I look at what they expected in the real economy, I look at the real economic performance as markedly worse than they predicted. And so that's what I think raises these questions, makes them absolutely germane to today's discussion. And I very much do worry, as I'm sure many of the people in this room do, that we've created a product not with bad intent. We've created a product that may or may not turn out to be counterproductive. We are in the middle of this experiment as we are now, but where the gains have been extracted by the most well-to-do, by the most sophisticated, who see that the central banks are, to one degree or another, trying to get asset prices up to drag up the real economy. They get the joke. They have been willing to play the game. And it does strike me as though we have to think about not just the efficacy of these programs, but really who are the winners and the losers.
Kevin Warsh understands that the government experiment of QE has failed and has failed miserably. Not only has it created economic disparity between the haves and the have-nots, it's created a system that doesn't actually work as it's tied to Fed policy rates. But you can hear he's pro low interest rates and pro American growth. He believes in fiscal responsibility, government accountability, and unlike his peers and people that come from his background and his past, people who come from the Stanfords and MITs and Harvard laws of the world that come from rich families, well, he actually believes in technological innovation. He's actually open-minded, and he believes that Bitcoin can serve as the foundation for a checks and balances system on government responsibility. He's pro-innovation and pro-Bitcoin. You're not bullish enough.
You made reference to Bitcoin, and I thought I heard a little bit of condescension that people are buying Bitcoin in these things.
But doesn't it, Charlie Munger, this is 2 or 3 years before he died, Charlie Munger attacked Bitcoin. He called it evil, in part because it would begin to undermine the Fed's ability to manage the economy.
Or it could provide market discipline, or it could tell the world that things need to be fixed.
Bitcoin does not make you nervous.
Bitcoin does not make me nervous. I can hearken back to a dinner I had here in 2011 with someone who is another guest on your show. I won't say his name. Okay, I just did Mark Andreessen, who showed me the white paper. That was the original white paper. I wish I had understood as clearly as he did how transformative Bitcoin and this new technology would be. Bitcoin doesn't trouble me. I think of it as an important asset that can help inform policymakers when they're doing things right and wrong. It is not a substitute to the dollar. I think it can often be a very good policeman for policy. And if I were to speak more broadly to what did Charlie Munger and others perhaps have in mind, there is a proliferation of securities that go under all sorts of names. Many, if not most of them, are not worth what they might be being traded for. So what did Charlie say, and maybe his pal Warren say? There's the innovators, the imitators, and the incompetents. They're real innovators that are happening in and around that new technology. And what I would try to impart towards businesses and bankers is that the underlying technology that Mark showed me in that white paper, or tried to show me in that white paper, it's just software. It's just the newest, coolest software that will provide us an ability to do things that we could never have done before.
We're pivoting from an era where value is created through financial engineering. And now we're pivoting to an era where value must be created through new capital formation, new capital flowing into industrial markets, new capital flowing into manufacturing, new capital flowing into the United States soil, new capital flowing into energy, and new capital flowing into an asset that gives the United States a relative advantage over their peers, which is not gold, it's Bitcoin. It's the new frontier. It's the new Treasury Reserve asset that doesn't have other countries and other nations that could be threats or enemies to the United States having a relative advantage or a head start on the United States in general. Plus, it will also force us to actually have to audit Fort Knox, which we haven't done. Bitcoin's audited every 10 minutes. And Bitcoin is part of the president's plan, a part of this plan to build new capital formation in the United States.
To unleash innovation in savings and financing, I'm also working to ensure America remains the crypto capital of the world.
Regardless of what you believe about Donald Trump, he actually does what he says he's going to do, crazy or not. And I believe that this Warsh, Bessent, and Trump trifecta is going to bring new capital flows into the United States. They want America to be the leader in several key markets: defense, industrial, manufacturing, energy, and crypto. They've been laying out this thesis, him and Stanley Druckenmiller, for over a decade. And this is why you're not bullish enough on Bitcoin. They're doing the things that they've said that they've wanted to do for the past 10 years, but haven't had the economic or political capital to do so. Before we go any further on this episode and why you're not bullish enough on Bitcoin, let's thank our sponsors. Ledn has been the leader in Bitcoin-backed loans since 2018, allowing you to unlock liquidity in your Bitcoin without selling your Bitcoin. That's what the rich people do. They put their assets in trust. They put their assets in vehicles that won't be taxed by the US government, but they don't sell them. They actually borrow against them. And you can do this same strategy with Ledn. Borrow up to 50% loan to value of your Bitcoin value. So if you want a $1,000 loan in fiat that gets to your account in 6 hours or less, well, then you post $2,000 in Bitcoin collateral. The loans require no credit checks and start at just 12.4%. You get 0.25% off of your first loan by going to learn.ledn.ao/simply. Get started today. The application takes just 2 minutes. Don't sell your Bitcoin. And also remove your Bitcoin from exchanges, where you will be sovereign over your assets when the Weimar crisis that we're going to talk about in a little bit actually hits. The volatility that we're seeing in markets right now is not something that you should play around with. And you need to be ready and secure to remove your assets from that system when the time comes. So set up a node, do it privately, do it safely and securely, and the team from the Bitcoin Way will walk you through exactly how to do that. Schedule a free 30-minute meeting with their team on exactly how to do this. They'll walk you through step by step. Go to thebitcoinway.com/simplybitcoin.
It's the beginning of the end of the monetary system as we know it. It's not just the US dollar, it's the fiat monetary currencies. So the UK, the euro, Japan, China all have similar debt problems and so on, and are dealing with the same interrelationship.
I believe what Ray is saying is true. This is the beginning of the end of the monetary system as we know it. And this is true for all fiat currencies. You see this when you see assets that are supposed to be safe havens, like gold, erase over 10% and $4 trillion in market cap in less than 24 hours. The same thing for silver, which erased over $1 trillion in market cap in 24 hours. Bitcoin is no exception, which dove to 82K as of this recording. And here's a chart from the Weimar mark as compared to gold during the time of the Weimar Republic crisis. And you see massive spikes in volatility. You see eventually gold goes way up and to the right, but not without some calamity, not without a lot of ups and downs in the meantime. And it was because it was trying to cement itself as a new global currency. And that's exactly what's happening with Bitcoin right now. The world is repositioning itself. America is repositioning itself to be a superpower. I'm betting on Besant right now and what's happening in America. These stats are absolutely mind-boggling.
IEPA power you used on the tariffs, as you said, we're bringing in tens of trillions of investments. The tens of trillions of investments turns into factories construction, which turns into factory jobs, which turns into consumer spending. You've right-sized the government, so government employment is down, private sector is up. Growth was a stunning 4.7, 4.8% in the past 2 quarters, biggest back-to-back gains in a decade. And we are doing that with government finances improving. So that will bring down the borrowing costs, the calendar year budget for 2024, 7% deficit to GDP, highest when we weren't at war, not in a recession, all the way down to 5.4% and getting better. Biggest decline since 2014. Generational gains in productivity, soaring productivity. We're going to lift workers' pay, record high prices, record high profits, and stock prices are soaring. You got a manufacturing renaissance, and all the key inflation metrics are trending lower. Over the past 3 months, the consumer price index is just 2.1, and core prices are even lower at 1.6, and I think that could trend below 1, given energy, as you talked about, the pharmaceutical discounts, and rents. So we're expecting a great year in 2026, Mr. President.
I'm betting that homes will not be a new source of wealth for new people trying to build wealth, and that it's going to create more gaps for people that don't hold assets like Bitcoin. President Trump is saying the quiet part out loud. You're not going to be able to get wealthy off of affording a home if you don't already have one.
Existing housing, people that own their homes, we're going to keep them wealthy. We're going to keep those prices up. We're not going to destroy the value of their homes so that somebody that didn't work very hard can buy a home. We're going to make it easier to buy. We're going to get interest rates down. But I want to protect the people that for the first time in their lives feel good about themselves. They feel like that they're wealthy people. And I want them to understand it. There's so much talk about, we're going to drive housing prices down. I don't want to drive housing prices down. I want to drive housing prices up for people that own their homes. And they can be assured that's what's going to happen.
I'm betting that the United States is going to capitalize itself on a new gold standard, a standard outside of the existing system that gives the United States a relative advantage over their peers. And that's not in gold, that's in Bitcoin. We own the exchanges, we own the markets, we own the capital flows, and we are going to be the leader in this market. So although this is what the crypto market has looked like, it's going to turn to this real fast. And Kevin Warsh is a signpost of a new economic era, an economic era where people are going to be rewarded for energy, effort, stored savings, accountability, fiscal responsibility. And that asset that allows you to have the most upside in all of these scenarios is still Bitcoin. What do you think?
I think that Bitcoin does make sense as part of a portfolio in this environment where you have the most fundamental shift, for example, in monetary policy since Paul Volcker. This is a big shift that we're seeing under the Powell Fed, rightly or wrongly. So I'm not surprised in a period of dollar weakness where Bitcoin's doing what it's doing. And I'd also suggest that part of the move in Bitcoin is taking some of the bid away from gold I think if Bitcoin never existed, gold would be rallying even more right now. But I guess if you're under 40, Bitcoin is your new gold.
If you believe in Bitcoin and the Bitcoin thesis, one of the best ways to participate is through Bitcoin mining and not just buying it straight from an exchange. Well, you can work with a company like SAS Mining who will do this for you. You buy state-of-the-art mining machines. You need material participation in order to depreciate this against other capital gains that you might have, but it's actually an incredible way to defer taxes from capital gains that you might have in the upcoming year, but it's also a way to stack sats without middlemen. Have sats flow directly to your wallet without any headaches, any hiccups, or any discrepancies. No markups, no middlemen. Get started by using the QR code to go to SAS Mining today. This is Dante Cook with Bitcoin Simply, and if you get value from shows and episodes like this, please do subscribe to the channel. Happy stacking.